feel like every time I come here, I'm a magpie because I'm just drawn to so many different things to look at. But it's funny because I don't think that I ever anticipated seeing a fresh cacao pod in a cafe in the middle of Mumbai. And you guys just have a stash of fresh cacao pods just constantly coming to this cafe.
Kind of, yeah. So we work with these really amazing farmer cooperatives and a couple of estates across 4 states in South India to do the bean to bar chocolate making with that traceable cacao. But this little board you see is what we call the pod to bar experience. And essentially it takes you through all the steps of chocolate making.
But how do we get here? I mean, I always think, at what point did you wake up in the morning, get out of bed, and think, okay, like doing this is not such a wacko idea. Having India's first specialty coffee, specialty bakery, specialty, chocolatier.
Yeah, look, I was privileged enough to be living in a couple of global hubs. What I noticed is that there was a very rapid sort of mainstreaming of craft that was happening, which was a delight to see because the quality standard had risen so rapidly around coffee, bakery, bean to bar chocolate in this very specialty context. And I was like, oh, where's Indian origin in this story? That sort of became the mission and the purpose that I became driven by, which was to build a certain sense of appreciation and notoriety for the Indian farmers, or the South Asian farmers from across the subcontinent, South and Southeast Asia. We tell that story because Asia as an origin when it comes to coffee and cacao is not prominent at all. So Subko's mission really started at a macro level, is rooted in that. And it started with coffee and then eventually moved to chocolate, which is where we are now, the cacao mill.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, again, fresh cacao pods is not something to be taken for granted. Or do you have 2 different machines that you then...
It depends on the type of foiling you do.
Okay.
There's like a press foil and then there's like a digitally printed foil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm across the road every 2 days, pretty much, at Colaba Market. And so I come here a lot.
You're famous in Colaba, let's be honest. Yeah.
In the market.
Yeah.
But, every time I come in here, it really does feel like such an oasis. And I think part of it really is the, obviously, contrast between the craziness that's outside and the very curated aesthetics of this space.
I think building strong visual identity has always been a passion. I think being someone that grew up in a diaspora community, one thing that was always evocative to me was language and how to express the crazy diversity of the subcontinent's languages in design form.
Yeah.
So when Subko came to life, I thought that should be at the crux of a lot of what we do. So, I mean, you look at our packaging and it features a lot of tactile elements, screen-printed labels, very sort of South Asian subcontinent typography. So this is like a very shiny metallic one.
This is beautiful, with the typography on this.
So you see the type here, the Devanagari, the Urdu, stuff that's evocative to me of South Asian culture.
Yeah, it's stunning. So you are, as they say, the rarest Pokemon in Mumbai because you're constantly traveling. But when you are back in Mumbai, do you veg out at home? Are you out and about? What's a day off for you outside of, the mill?
Yeah, I like walks and I kind of miss them. I was living in New York and London before I moved here.
Great walking city.
Great walking cities. Yeah. I think if you know where to look in Bombay, they can be as well. To me, that's either in the bylanes of Bandra or I like to come to Colaba and Fort.
Of course.
I really particularly love the mixture of sort of Indo-Islamic and Victorian architecture. And I love witnessing that when I'm able to walk around this neighborhood.
Yeah, I think also the layers of, accretions over time, right? They're really historic. And then, you have the vegetable wala or, your chaat wala at the street corner.
And as a former Londoner as well, I always get these little whiffs of West London in a Indic form, when I come to Fort. So I think it's a beautiful mix of many different cultures.
Yeah, I love that. So we talked earlier about how you are part of this cabal, I guess, of game changers in this country. Who's someone that you think is really sort of pioneering, game changing? Like who's zigging rather than zagging in your mind?
I mean, look, what's happening in India and the region right now is a whole lot of evolution in every sector, but I feel like since we're talking about the sort of food and beverage space,
Yeah.
Chef Pratik Sadhu.
From Nar.
So from Nar,
Yeah.
such a genuine ingredient-driven approach, ingredient-first, I suppose, approach to his cooking, and the traceability of the raw material.
And also the Pahari story, right? Just the
course.
communities, the
The
produce.
Himalayan story, the Badi story, the Kashmiri story. I mean,
Yeah.
again, all sort of the fringes, I would say, of what one would consider sort of mainstream thinking, thought, cuisine.
Yeah.
All of that kind of coming to fomenting into what is now Nar.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, astounding.
Incredibly tasty too.
Of course. Goes without saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm obsessed with Yazdani.
yeah, we scored the Ban Maska
I
early
know.
morning. Yeah, what's crazy about Yazdani was when I first started conceptualizing Subko with Daniel, it was like, all right, what are the inspirations when it comes to bakery? So, Yazdani, institution, a bakery sort of really for everyone, Parsi heritage, very Bombay, everything, the color scheme, I mean, the nostalgia, it's all there.
It's very similar in Singapore to this one place, and also just the concept of like an old bakery. There's one place that I love and that I grew up eating at called Chin Mi Chin. And it's an old heritage bakery in Joo Chiat, which is in a beautiful part of town. And you see this like light blue facade with like the old traditional tiles and so on. And the one thing that they're really, really famous for is kaya toast, which is of course that, iconic Singaporean breakfast of similarly toast, slathered with like a pat of butter. And then kaya jam, which is the, pandan kind of a jam.
right,
and
yeah.
it's just like stunning experience.
Amazing.
I love it when you encounter the little bit of like a, is that like a cranberry?
Yeah,
Like a raisin, yeah,
the
yeah.
raisins, the dried fruits. Yeah.
Yeah. But in many ways, what Pratik is doing in Himachal is very similar to what you guys are doing, right? Which is really building that community and working in a very sort of micro-local setting. And that must have been a game changer for you in terms of, compared to when you first moved here and your community was back in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Now, what does that look like for you being in India?
I think when it comes to community, me, Subko, I mean, your daily coffee, your daily bread, it's a very quotidian affair. It's inherently very communal. Chocolate is like communal indulgence, right? But I think when you think about the diasporic element, the fact that I sort of moved back to India, to the motherland, and now the fact that we're trying to build something aspirationally kind of exportable back out from the homeland of sorts, that's sort of the community aspect that excites me the most.
Yeah. But that point on diaspora is so fascinating to me. And we have connected previously, I know, on your experience in Singapore. And I think like particularly Little India was inspiring in the same way that you think about community and diaspora. So tell me about that.
I mean, the level of diasporic tapestry that is there in Singapore, whether it be the Tamil community, the Chinese community, the Malay community, and the expats, right? Even the Western expats.
Yeah.
I mean, just that was fascinating to me, and something that was as beautifully, almost curated in a weird way, not to like bastardize the word, but as Little India is in the middle of Singapore, it was something very novel to me, and it was very clear that there was 3 generations or more of South Asians that had settled in Singapore and became part of the tapestry and the fabric. It's really cool, and that was emblematic in Little India to me.
Yeah, amazing. I must introduce you to Yuki, who runs one of my favorite bars called the Elephant Room. And he very much takes on this idea of his like Tamil heritage and makes the most sublime cocktails in Singapore.
Amazing, I'd love to meet him.
Yeah.